Hi, 5th grade. Today I'm going to go over the expectations for oil painting. Oil painting can be a little bit tough, but I promise you I'm going to make it so easy. The very first thing you need to do is write your name on your canvas and also write your homeroom teacher. So please don't write Mr. Bofield. I want you to write your 5th grade teacher. You guys are going to get a little bit of titanium white, actually 2 dots of it, because we're going to be using it for 2 different things today. We're going to be making a sky and then also the clouds. You're also going to get some blue oil paint as well. Now you're gonna see a container with what looks like water, but it's not water. This is paint thinner. This is a type of chemical that thins the paint. It makes it a little bit more inky because oil paint starts off really thick and you don't want it thick on the canvas, otherwise it will take forever to dry. So what I do is I mix the blue and the white until I have a good sky color, and then I dip a little bit of the paint thinner in there, and it's like an ink, and you can always go back and add a little bit more paint thinner. And so now, because I've thinned it out, it's making more of a thin layer on the canvas and it's soaking up really nicely. And you are going to take your mixture of the oil paint and paint thinner and go all over. I want you to get the sides. Your hands might get a little bit dirty from the oil, but that's okay. As long as it doesn't get on your clothes, you're fine. It will wash very easily off of your hands. If it does get on your clothes, just tell mom, dad, whoever, that you need to put your stuff in the wash right away. Otherwise, it will stain. There's kind of a time limit. And if you let it dry, you're out of luck. Now this is just a tip from me to you, but I'm going over the top with a little bit of that blue. If you ever look at real landscapes, you'll notice that the top of the sky is a little bit darker, and then it gets lighter as it heads towards the horizon, or where the land meets the sky. I also took my brush and I blended out the whole thing from side to side. That's the satisfying part. All right, now we're gonna add some clouds. So this is what you're gonna do on day 1. I'm gonna take my brush, I'm dipping it into the turbinoid, and I'm cleaning off some of that sky color. I just dip it into the turpentine, paint thinner, whatever you wanna call it, and then I go straight into the white. This time I do not use any paint thinner because I do want it thick this time. So I am just drawing little squiggle lines, and these are gonna turn into clouds. You kinda have to trust me on this one. There's no right or wrong way to do it. I just do squiggly lines using little pokey motions. You're gonna notice that if you use a paintbrush in an unusual way, you can get some really interesting mark making and some really interesting textures. Now I'm gonna go ahead and start blending it out. So I'm gonna take my paper towel, get some of the paint off that brush, and then just barely, and gently blend to one direction. Because if you think about it, if the wind is pushing the clouds, it wouldn't be in every direction. Usually the wind just comes from one direction, unless it's like a hurricane or something. But chances are you want a very peaceful looking painting, right? Then I'm going back in with the white and adding more dimension. Clouds are not flat. They have little bubbles, parts that are bright white, some parts that are blending in with the sky. And so you get to choose and decide how you like your clouds and when you want to stop blending. And you can always go back in and change it up. That's the nice thing about oil paint, is that it stays wet for longer, so you can go back and keep on blending and adding new clouds. Now remember, if you are done with the paintbrush, you actually need to clean it off, and you can't use water because it's oil paint. So you're going to take a little bit of baby shampoo. I do kind of like a $50 size, and then you go around the baby shampoo and it starts to take off some of that paint. You can also go in the turbinoid and get some of that paint off as well. So now we're gonna start day 2. We're gonna use something called sap green, and we're gonna start to create our grass. You're going to use that big brush that we used last time to create our sky and our clouds, except you're going to hold it like a magic wand today so that you can get grass in a way that's mark making, that looks a little bit more realistic, and you don't have to do all the work of drawing every single blade of grass. So I'm going in with that green. You can mix a little bit of yellow ochre. We'll talk about that later. But I'm actually just tapping it, and I'm holding the paintbrush like a magic wand. And so I'm just going back and forth and filling in the grass. Grass is generally darker at the bottom because as things fade away into the distance, they get lighter. So the grass at the top of your hill or field or whatever should be the lighter area. You can go in with a little bit of white and kind of brighten it up. I like to mix it with a little bit of yellow because that's more realistic. Sometimes grass is more of a greenish yellow. You can use your big brush to make bushes. Be creative. Today we can also open up new brushes. Today I use kind of a medium brush and I'm doing just little pokey textures to indicate maybe the top of a tree. You can also add the turbanoid to make it a little bit inkier. Now I'm using the big brush and I'm doing kind of more of a Christmas tree. Trees and shadows tend to be at the bottom, and then the lighter areas where the sun is at the top of the bush or at the tree. Now I'm adding a little bit of brown. This is going to give us that shadow. Right now, those greens, they're beautiful, but they're not lifelike. Everything is not extreme Shrek green. So I'm taking a little bit of that brown and mixing it with the green, and then I'm giving the illusion of shadow. I'm kind of thinking maybe the sun is to the right, so the left side of this tree would have a little bit more shadow. And I'm also putting my darks at the bottom, because like I said, just happens to be the grass that is darker is closer to you because of atmosphere and hydrogen in the air making things look lighter as they go away. You can also add highlights. So you can go into your green, add some white to it, some yellow, and make it look like the sun is really hitting off some of those leaves. This is where you can be creative. Maybe you want to do one of the smaller brushes and then do a tree without any leaves. Maybe you just want to draw the branches like it's a dead tree. I'm taking a little bit of that white and that ochre, that yellowy mustard color, and I'm going to do a little path. I'm thinking maybe the stones on the inside are brown and white, kind of like gravel. Experiment with composition. Maybe you need a few more trees on your second or third day. We also have some other colors. Maybe you want to add some flowers. I think it needs a little tree in the back. They were feeling lonely, so I added another tree friend. But there we have it. That was the basics of oil painting. Don't forget to clean up your area and throw away any trash that you don't need. I can't wait for these to dry.